4:30 sharp. Our guest of honor, Tanu Shree, is here. She's drinking a huge mug of coffee or a tea. I don't know what it is, but that's huge, I must say. Let me make her a co-host. Just a second. Okay, great. So we are expecting a few more people. Give us a minute or so. We are expecting 65 plus people. Preeti, Eva, Tanu, whenever you say, we'll start. Amit is also here. I think Amit has joined in.
Wonderful. I'm all set and all excited to start the session.
Oh, there's a teddy bear sitting next to you as well. Yes.
Very soon the teddy bear's friend also will join. But till that time, I thought it will be teddy bear today.
Fantastic. Good to have people from different aspects of life. Hi, Amit. I'll just add you in just a second. We can see your bookstore as well.
And we are tremendously jealous of you right now because you're sitting there and we are not.
Yeah, I would love to come and drop into the bookstore very soon. I'm just waiting for things to open up and my guts also to develop a bit.
No, I think it's sensible.
Yeah,
it's not got anything to do
with it.
Can't
wait to come, Amit. Can't wait to come.
Yeah.
So I must start the session by saying that before we start the formal session, I ordered from school yesterday a lot of Hindi books for my son because those are books I do not get on Amazon. And, I've been hunting. My mother tongue is not Hindi, my husband's is. So his father tongue is Hindi and he speaks only Hindi and English, not Tamil or Malayalam like I do. So I want him to be good at that language he learns because that's something, my weakness. So I thought I would do that. And I've struggled he's 6.5, but I've struggled last 2 years buying him good Hindi books. And I'm finally happy that Cool School has all the collections. And I can't wait to come to the store and dig into those books again. So today we got the first batch of delivery. I ordered yesterday, so faster than Amazon and Flipkarts of the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for saying that. We are working very hard to stand up to these giants, but yeah, we are doing all right, and we are working very hard on our Hindi range. We are reading every single book, and we are tagging them as per category so that it becomes easier for parents to choose. I know it's a big struggle. It has been a struggle for us as well, but hopefully that will get resolved soon. I think we need to provide access to these great Hindi books also.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this noble initiative, and may you make a lot of money with this noble initiative.
I don't know about that.
I know that laughter. I know that laughter. So anyone who's got any ideas that there is any money in books, please.
I know, which is why I'm hoping and praying that somebody turns.
First, Pratham and CBT have to, go beyond the 50 rupee bracket.
I agree.
That makes it accessible. There's the reason why Amazon does not sell them because it does not make economic sense.
Yes, true.
Courier is more expensive.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So there can't be anything better than starting the session with the talk of the bookstore and seeing the bookstore and the bookstore wala as well, the cool guy in the mask, half mask.
Yeah, I don't have my visor. I'm a visor here, but yeah, we have to be completely decked up. Only the PPE kit is missing.
Oh my God.
Good. So great. So let's start the session. Let's welcome everyone formally. So thank you, parents who have joined us today for a very special edition of City Book Leaders, where we are privileged to have Dr. Tanu Shree Singh, and I should add the Parle G wala G into it because she says J-I mat lagaya karo mere aage. ये भाई हम Parle G wala Tanu G laga dete hain aapke aage. And few people are still joining, but we'll continue with our session now. Um, as I was welcoming everyone, I must tell we are a knowledge exchange with books as the medium, and thus we believe that every book has been written with much of experience and love to change lives for better, should be well discussed and spoken about. And that's why today we are discussing this book. It took us almost 2 years to get Tanu Shree ji to City Book Leaders, I must say. Though it started with her, our first session that we did in India Habitat Center, where she was doodling sitting in the back with her friend and was not keen to listen to any corporate wala who was talking about any book. And I must tell you,
I did.
yes,
A different breed.
yeah. And it took us almost 2 years. Today we are here almost in the mid of June, 2 years, and it's truly a pleasure. And with me, the bad habit is that unless and until I have the author with us, I'm not ready to read the book. So I'm like that old engineering days, last minute preparation, reading it the last time. So that's how it happens with me. But I must tell you, the last week when I read both of her books, they're fascinating books, and our hosts for the session, both Preeti and Yuva, they will agree to it. And I think there's a timing for everything. So which is the perfect timing. We are very glad to have Amit Sareen from Cool School with us, who is not going to be here only for this session. You will see him across all City Book Leader sessions. And I must tell you, हम थोक के भाव कर रहे हैं. हम हर हफ्ते इतने सारे कर रहे हैं कि कुछ दिनों में आप लोग भी कहना शुरू हो जाएंगे, जितने भी लोग आज हमसे जुड़े हैं, कि भाई बस बहुत हो गई किताबों की बातें, क्योंकि मुझको लगता है होनी नहीं चाहिए.
भी नहीं होगा.
It can never be enough.
There will always be enough people.
Yeah.
So laughingly to a friend, I was saying before COVID it was IPL. After now it should be CBL. We should make it more interesting with books. And today is a very, very interesting, close to heart subject. Our host Eva and Preeti, they both are here. Let me introduce both of them to you. Eva by qualification is MTech from Thapar University. And for the last 6 years, she's been working in the field of workplace behaviors and careers. She co-founded the company, the Predictive Strategy Group, along with her life partner. She's not only a practitioner of psychometric science, but works as an evangelist, as both she and her husband actually changed their career and life almost 180 degrees. And so whenever I meet Eva now, I'm always worried whether she will send me a link to do my psychometric test or I will be assessed or not. But yes, that definitely adds to a lot of perspective. Thank you, Eva, for joining us today. Our co-host today is Preeti Murthy. She's the CEO for OMD India, and a love for books has helped us nurture City Book Leaders. She's mother of a revolutionary, lovely boy, Jay, and in the video you can see that the Jay's accomplice is sitting next to her. In her entire day, she wears many hats in a 24 hours plus day, I must say. And I always wonder how she gets more than 24 hours in a day. So ladies and gentlemen, moms and dads, over to Eva and Preeti to take the session ahead. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So it's going to be actually Eva all over, but Tanu Shree, I'm just going to introduce in the way I have now observed you, because I think this is the first time we are seeing each other. Yeah. So I joined Reading Raccoons on Facebook a few years back, and I've been kind of trolling you from then.
Don't say trolling, I'm scared of trolling.
I was so impressed that how can somebody create such a beautiful platform, which actually is just about books and books. And I added my entire family, my sister, my dad, and my cousins, who are all readers and avid readers. And recently, my husband is a new age turned reader in his mid-40s, thanks to Mohit, not thanks to me. But he is also a big fan of you now, that how you've been able to mobilize the book revolution in a different avatar. And even now, like I was searching that where do I get newspapers for children? I know that I can go into Reading Raccoons. I don't have to go into Google for that. So that's how I know her. And then when I read your book, it's as if I saw your life pass through me like a movie trailer. You know, it was so well written. I mean, wow. What beautiful, crispy, tight writing that you had, yet sending the message, you know, making it funny. And, you know, as a mother, I could relate to so many things. I was laughing, smiling. You know, it was all mixed emotions that I ignored my son for till I finished the book. So it was that good. So thank you for that. And I think Eva and me have spoken and we've jammed in some nice ideas which Eva wants to ask you about. So for all our participants sitting here, the format is as this. We ask a lot of silly questions with the author, and then all the intelligent questions are left to you guys to then ask her later. And what we're going to do is make this interactive. So do type your questions as the session is going. I will pick up questions that are relevant to the topic immediately and ask Tanu or discuss it with you guys. And parallelly, we will wrap up and open the session for everybody to ask Tanu Shree as many questions as we can in the next 45 minutes. So, because Mohit is a stickler for time, so I'm not going to digress much. So thank you so much, Mohit, for bringing us all together. Thank you, Tanu and Amit. And over to Eva now to make this show rock and roll.
Thank you, Mohit, for the lovely introduction. Thank you, Preeti. And thank you for the introduction and the opportunity that you guys gave me and finally pulled me in CBL, though I'm not a voracious reader, but you made me, talk to Tanu Shree, which is again a privilege for me. And after knowing that you took 2 years to, bring Tanuji on board, and I am the, person who is having a conversation with you, I'm so honored. So welcome, Tanuji. Good evening, folks. When I was reading this book, the best part of it is that there are no psychological facts, unlike, a psychologist, mention everything, in a book. Yeah. There are no psychological facts, but there are very practical day-to-day instances which every mother can, relate with. So it's a must read for not only for mothers, but for both the parents, grandparents, whosoever is, part of the overall development of the child. So Tanuji, we will start this conversation with a thing which you have rightly mentioned in the beginning of your book, which says that yelling out on our kids, which again, we all can relate. And at times we, yell out on our kids because of certain reasons, your own anger, your frustration, sibling fight. And the best way that you have mentioned in your book is to justify yourself by saying that करना पड़ता है, हम mothers हैं, we are moms, and we have all the liberty to yell out, right? Yeah. So I would like to, understand from you how good it is to yell out at times, and how we can, understand the situation, Yeah. So I know all the mothers, all the participants who are here can very well relate with this.
Oh, I can relate with it. I can relate with it. So, but karna parta is the excuse that we give. Yeah. It's as simple as that. I still remember one show that I had seen long back. I think it was Oprah, and there they were talking about domestic abuse, and that line stuck out somehow when she actually asks an adult that would you actually get up and hit another adult, and obviously he was taken aback that no, I won't. So the very fact that you are yelling or hitting a child means that you're using your power because of the size. That's the only difference. What we actually do is not give children the credit of being emotionally mature and being able to handle complex situations. And we take the easier route. It's easier to just yell and make them fall into line rather than actually sit down and reason with them. If you start reasoning, you'll have either no hair by the time you are my age or white hair, which is okay, which is perfectly fine. The thing is that we get into this loop of justifying, which becomes tighter and tighter with every justification. And it's difficult and simple, both at the same time, to break out of it. And we need to, because it does no good. So the child is falling in line because you yelled out of fear and avoidance, rather than actually understanding that, oh, this needs to be done. Right? So there might be situations where he might not agree, he or she might not agree that, for whatever reason, they're not supposed to do X, Y, Z, they might not agree, but they might still fall in line because they see your point of view. So the idea here is that I think it presents us a great opportunity for it to be a lesson in conflict management, which we completely miss. because we are telling the children it's okay to yell and get your way.
And is it gender specific? Because that's one of the questions one parent has asked me privately. Because he's a father and he's saying, I yell more at my kids than my wife. So,
oh, please, no, it's not gender specific at all. I've seen women yell much, much louder and much more frequently than men. I think it's unfair to paint everyone in the same sort of shade. You'll have, yes, of course. I mean, if you're talking about things like abuse, that is another extreme. There, if you look at the gender studies, yes, men are the perpetrators. But then when you're looking at day-to-day lives, at least to my knowledge, you can't really put a figure on it that men do it more or women do it more, because there are a lot of variables there. Yeah. A lot of times women spend more time, so you're more liable. The father gets to be the good parent because they sail in late and, you know, they're the good people. So, so there are a lot of factors would work.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, Tanuji, for putting this thing so beautifully, and we'll try to, you know, at least minimize, you know, this thing
it's
of
yelling
out. And
it is not easy.
I know it is not easy.
At times you just have to leave the room.
Leave the room and putting some water on your face might work. Yeah, that's what you have mentioned also in your book.
It worked with me.
It worked with you. I will also try this out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So next thing, Tanuji, which I wanted to understand from you is little sensitive, and this is about, you know, kids getting exposure to pornography, which is very common these days, especially in today's scenario where, you know, they are having complete free access to the internet for doing their homework, their studies, their assignments, their projects, everything. Right. So I want your advice for all the parents who are here, because obviously everybody is, you know, coming across or will come across with
of course.
So I want you to talk about on this sensitive topic, you know.
So first of all, there's a question by Lipika. Lipika, will come back to your question because we don't want to be stuck on one thing. So we will come back. Don't worry. About pornography, it's, I think, even less talked about than the birds and the bees. Most parents just talk about birds and the bees in a sort of a passing days, and just get it done with, or not done with, and leave it to chance. And we don't talk about porn at all. Now, the thing is that it's even more real now, especially if you've seen the newspapers. There've been instances of people hacking into the classroom, the virtual classrooms, and playing porn. So, and that too for pretty young children. So that gets very confusing. Now, the primary thing here is the clarity of communication, keeping so-called morals out of that conversation. So when we are talking about, first of all, where do we start? We start with the idea of what is sex. The children, no child is too young for it. It's about age appropriateness in terms of what words you use to explain. Absolutely. Right? Plus, let them come to you with a question. Usually the generic question is, where did I come from? Don't cook up nice, happy stories. There are books for that. You've got plenty of books for fiction out there, all sorts of genres. So please don't rely on mythology, Bhagwan ji ne diya tha, ya chiriya lekar aayi thi, all those things, please. Give them facts. All right. Now, for those facts, again, there are a whole shelf full of books out there. Amit will be able to help you with them. That there are a lot of great books out there which you can just pick up. So once that conversation has started from that point, the taboo goes away. So what purpose it solves is that, let's say the child is sitting in front of the screen, which has actually happened with me. So the child is sitting in front of the screen, and suddenly there are like 20 windows that pop up of fairly questionable content. And obviously he was very nervous, and he just runs to me. That's the crucial bit. So rather than trying to switch it off or, you know, kind of firefighting on his own, he came to me and asked that, you know, I didn't do anything, but what the hell happened? Right? So how did we get to that level is by taking the taboo out of talking about your body parts, by not giving body parts nicknames. Call a spade, why not? It's anatomy. So then once you've taken shame out of the whole terminology, the conversation, then of course it becomes easy to talk about porn. And why is it easy? Why is it important that we talk about porn? Because let's say if there is an older child there, I can simply talk to them with statistics, right? Which is that there are graphs available online which will show you how porn is linked, works on the brain in the same way as any addiction would, and what are the outcomes. So those are the things that and how does it affect your body image? Now these things, the future relationships, these are the things that we need to speak to children about. A lot of times we don't know what to say. Either we ignore, or if it's a teenager or a preteen or somewhere 9, 10-year-old, we just say, oh, this is the age, they're curious. If they're curious, please satisfy their curiosity in a valid way, rather than just ignoring, oh, it's something that they'll get over. Let's not just brush aside our responsibility in that. So it gets fairly important to talk to them about it. There are quite a few questions if you want to take as we go along.
Yes.
I think,
So can I ask, so there's nothing on pornographic, but it's all about children's energies that everybody is asking. But it is one more question on conditioning children. In old times, a slap helps better than advice. I'm sure it's changed now. What is the right way now?
See, belief systems have, okay, let me go back to my college days when we started our classes on developmental psychology. The first class, our professor had said that he will come across 9 odd theories of developmental psychology of different aspects, and maybe more by the time we finish the course, because new theories keep popping up. But whenever you come across a child, they'll come with a theory of their own. Now, having said that, certain things are an absolute no matter what. Simple thing is, can I get you to work if I slap you?
No way.
It's as simple. It's as simple. So when we are slapping or hitting or shaking the child up, all we are doing is we are taking out our own frustration. You know, pick up kickboxing for that.
Yeah.
Or punch a bag or something, but don't take it out of the child.
And a few mothers have asked about, I'm not able to get my child to sit and listen or talk through. There's somebody who has twins, 4.5-year-old. And
I hear you. The mother of twins, you've earned yourself a puja.
Yeah, but she's
one medal coming your way.
She's looking for a solution. They just don't listen.
Yeah. Congratulations that they are a team. Imagine if they were not a team, that would have been much tougher to handle. So first things first, getting children to sit and listen is not something you can just push buttons, and so everybody comes with their own manual. Most of the pages in the manual are missing, so you have to make it up as you go along. Now the thing is that a lot of times we use fairly loaded, heavy, long sentences with children because we want to fix them in one go. First of all, we want to fix them. We want to make them the best child, who's very well behaved, morally sound, academically the best, everything, right? So we have these notions of what a child should be doing. Okay, now let's say, arbitrarily speaking, what if you were to lose all those notions and rebuild them with the child in mind? See what they like, then decide and choose your battles, right? I think a lot of people who might have, some of you who might have attended any of the sessions might have gotten bored with this example, but I never get bored of it. That if you've read history, the no king would ever take up all their enemies together. They would choose their battles. They would make an ally. They would ignore some. They would threaten one. And then they would figure out that this one needs to be dealt with the first. Right? So always choose your battles. Just choose those. They will listen if you talk in their language. You know, if you're using big sentences, boring sentences, I don't know, I wouldn't listen. So
great. Thanks for that wonderful response. Eva, over to you. There are more questions. I'll come back to it depending on the topic.
Yeah. Sure, Preeti, sure. So, okay, so Tanuji, being in this, profession of, career counselor, I meet a lot of teenagers and parents day in, day out. And, the most worried fact about the entire thing is a teenage romance. So I've seen a lot of parents getting worried about this thing. And I mean, somewhere maybe I myself will be when my, child will be in the teen age. And the reason behind this worry is like they are going through some relationship, both boyfriends, girlfriends, and once you are into a relationship, then it is very difficult to focus on studies, right? And especially when during
I
their
disagree. I
teenage.
disagree. Okay, I disagree. I have seen a lot of school romances, and I can see one bobbing head right now. Yes, right there. So brilliant, both of them brilliant in their own spheres, and probably and going around. So and during school, all right. So they made it big. I don't remember ever hearing from either of them that, oh, we were so star-crossed and starstruck that we just couldn't focus on things. It's not that. I think we give them very less credit, So coming to, I think you need to, again, go back to the crux of the problem. Lose the idea of innocence. Okay. It starts from there, oh, my child is, my baby is so innocent. Sari dunya use pagal bana degi. He falls into love or she falls into love, they'll take him for a ride. Please, that's silly, really. I mean, I'm really trying to use very dignified words here. So innocence is so overrated in our culture that it sometimes really surprises me that how many things we just bundle up and put it under the label of innocence. I think it's ignorance, not innocence. So lose that, first of all. Lose the whole idea of moral, then with that comes that whole moral baggage, okay, which is that you get into a relationship once you're very sure. And so what are we telling the child? That let's say you were sure, you got into this relationship, now it's all serious business. You realize 2 months down the line that this is not working, you bloody well make it work, right? So you're actually telling them, and this happens. Here again, a lot of gender issues also come in. This generation is now changing it, thankfully. But till 10 years back, you would have girls who would be stuck with losers of boyfriends just because that's the way to be. It is a serious relationship. If it is not, it reflects on my morality, right? So that is something that we need to break. I don't think we should be worried about our child having an affair. I'd be worried if he is not comfortable enough to come and tell me. Right. So that should be the sort of building of the relationship where they should be able to come and tell you. Now, how does that get built is the foundation starts at the age where, so I remember class 4 or 5, the boys used to come that, what, so-and-so is going around with so-and-so. Now, obviously inside I'm like, class 4, dude, seriously, do you guys even know what the world is? But outwardly, I cannot talk down to them and tell them that, what, I know more about the world. Because the fact is they know a different side of the world, which I don't know about. It's as simple. So they've come to you with gossip, be their gossip partner. Listen, just listen. Because the moment you start giving your own opinion, you've shut the doors for the next time. Right. So these small things, again, everything comes down to communication and really reprogramming your own thinking. So I wouldn't be worried about teenage romance. I'd be worried about what they do with it. I would be worried whether they understand their limits. I would be worried whether they understand the implications, because things do get sour sometimes. The latest worrisome thing is children sending nude, I don't know what they call it. They have got a term for it. I'm forgetting the term for it. So nude selfies to their partners out of trust. It's a thing. All right. So that is something we should be talking about, that what could be the repercussions of that, rather than worrying. We probably are already worried about these things. So we feel that isse acha hoi na to zyada acha hai, which will not happen. Yeah. Right. You don't stop driving a car because accidents happen. You take precautions.
Wonderful. On the teenage topic, there are 2 questions. One is from Gitanjali, who's trying to understand how to enter their world, teenage world. And the other is from Deepika, who's asking that, I haven't read your book, just bought it. How do I deal with my 13-year-old girl's hormonal outbursts? She's become very moody and very antisocial.
I have a 17-year-old who's still having his hormonal outbursts. We are in the same boat. See, the thing is that you don't need to be a part of the, you don't need to be really a part of the teenage world. You don't need to get into everything. You can't. It's as simple. Okay. So giving them space is probably the toughest thing that a parent has to learn to do. You will have to learn to do it. Either you do it on your own, or you get kicked in your face and then you learn. So some amount of space will have to be given, first of all. Then secondly, it requires more of empathy, you know, and also it requires a tremendous effort on your own part to isolate yourself. You also have to take care of yourself. As a parent, your responsibility is not just towards the child, it's also towards yourself. Okay, so that balance is very essential, especially when you're dealing with a teenager who's having emotional outbursts, who's going into really sort of imbalance of emotions, so to speak. So there, what happens is we tend to take everything personally. I've done that a lot of times, and I'd be reduced to buckets of tears that how could he say this? And, you know, how could this happen? And how could I be told to leave this space because they need their privacy? So leave those hows outside the conversation for now. They are going through a tough time themselves. They are trying to find their own identity. They don't know where they're heading. They have a very morose picture of the world painted in front of them. A lot of times I hear the teenagers say, what's the point of doing anything? The world is ending anyway. Why do I need to study? It's as simple. So things like that, they're really dealing with these issues. So we need to be sensitive towards that rather than nursing our own wounds. That time will also come. 20 years from now, they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, I'm very sorry. This is really bad with you. Have patience, wait for your time. But right now they need you. So dealing with emotional outbursts, again, if it is something which is coming in the way of the relationship, it is always a good idea to go in for therapy. It always helps. So, a lot of times we brush it aside saying that, oh, it's just teenage hormones. It'll be okay. But sometimes the storm is pretty big. So it is always a better idea to just go in for therapy if things are getting too out of hand.
Thank you so much, Tanu. So those are the teenage. There's a few more questions. I'll take it in the appropriate moment, guys. So wait for it. Over to you, Eva.
Okay, thank you, Tanuji. So next part, when I was, reading through your book, there was, some part of it where, I was very well able to relate with, and I was laughing also. It's about the summer camps and about the hobby classes and the art classes. So, these days, if we will see, there is a competition. There is that how many, these art and craft or whatever hobby classes the child is going to. Oh. So I'll share one instance which is coming to my mind. 5 years back when my daughter was like, I guess 5 or 6 years old, and she was like so fond of art and craft, drawing, painting, and right from her early years. And as a very normal parent, I also, looked out for some good classes so that I can, promote her. I can, make her learn new things around it. And I started sending her there. After a couple of weeks later, she started showing reluctance around those classes. And one day when I asked her, why do you want to go to these classes? You always wanted to, join something. And because obviously she was too young to explain it in a, but still she said like, मम्मा मुझे जो बनाना होता है ना मैम वो नहीं बनाने देती मैम बॉक्सेस बनवाती रहती हैं
yes
मैम बॉक्सेस बनवाती रहती हैं
exactly
right so I want you to really give some pointers to all the parents that how good how bad it is because at the end of the day all the parents wants better for their kids right so
see again better in what terms better in whose terms right we need to really introspect a little better in it. Who defines better? I want the best for my child. What is the best for my child? Have I talked to my child about it? Or am I just building this castle in my head that, oh, mera bachcha ye karega, fir ye karega, fir. That's ridiculous. So thing is that, see, it's not that the classes don't, you should all shut them or anything. It should always be the child's choice. So there are children who themselves would want to join classes. I've had instances where the kids suddenly developed fancy for learning guitar. I was also made to enroll. And the three of us would lug our guitars and they did all the homework. And this was, I think they were in grade 8 or something. And they did all the homework and they found out and we want to join this class. So that has also happened. If the child themselves, the children themselves want to go and learn something, or their friend, whatever the reason could be, for all you know, the reason could be that their friend is going there. So you also need to get to the bottom of it, because again, you don't want them to do things just because their friends are doing it, right? So the reason has to be very clear. The reason cannot be that since everybody is going and everybody is doing, oh my God, everybody is doing these 4-5 classes and I also need to enroll my child. मेरा बच्चा पीछे रह जाएगा, कोई पीछे नहीं रहेगा. They'll find their own races. They'll find their own marathons. For all you know, they might devise such a race that nobody else can actually compete with them. So it is not easy to do, but it is not impossible to do, because I am dealing with a child right now who is in grade 12 and who is fairly clueless about what he's going to do. But then I am clueless at my age. So it's okay. It's perfectly fine. So the classes, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of classes. Boredom, I don't know why people get very scared of boredom. Boredom is actually the seed of creativity. I have been threatened by the children that we are going to die of boredom when they were around 5, and I pulled the plug of the TV and I was told that we're going to die of boredom. And I actually waited. Guess what? 17 and 19 years old, still going strong. Boredom doesn't kill. Let the child get bored. It is okay. Summer holidays, remember your own times. What did you do in summer holidays? I remember afternoons spent looking out of the window, just making shapes out of clouds, nothing else. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just not for sort of putting them through the rigor of class after class after class, and no time for unstructured play or general fooling around. That really plays with their psyche. It's very exhausting.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Thanks, please, Preeti. Yeah, so there are a few questions around younger age, which will, I think, be appropriate to the topic of daydreaming, as I call it. Let them be. Yeah, so one of the mothers asking that her 5-year-old is an introvert and seems to keep everything to herself. How should I get her into a conversation so that she starts sharing what's going on with her in school?
Okay, everyone, whoever is an introvert, please raise your hands. I sometimes but left to my own devices, if I were given a choice, that there were 2 rooms, one is full of books, one is full of people I know and like the company of, I would still go and sit with a book, because it gets exhausting after a while. I don't enjoy it. So I think first thing is that we need to really work at our terminology. Introversion is not an undesirable trait. It is just a trait. Extroverts are overrated. It's as simple, right? So it's okay if the child is introvert. The second part, how do I converse with the child, needs to be independent of the fact that they are introverted, right? Now, sometimes the conversation platform is something that you need to find on your own. And that platform will change with age also. So I remember sitting and generally doodling with the kids, even learning certain art and craft that my younger one would make. He used to be exceptionally good at origami. So he would sit about and start to fold stuff, and we would get talking, and that would. So right now, we are just talking about that. I'm not digging deeper, but there you've started a conversation. You can never have a conversation which goes straight away into, so what's happening in your life, right? If the child hasn't disclosed that so far, that what's happening in the class, maybe you need to approach that through some other route. Do stuff together. Tell them about your own day. Tell them about your own problems. What we do a lot of times is we never really share ourselves, but we expect them to share. And we also think that, oh, they're too young to understand. Usko kya pata lagega, mere ko aaj boss ne jhada, ya, I got into a thing with a colleague. Tell them, because for all you know, they might actually come back and say, you know what, my teacher also got really nasty today or whatever. So those conversations are not monologues. So you have to tell, then probably they'll talk.
Tanuji, I can't agree more on this introvert thing, because my husband is actually I guess the biggest introvert I have ever seen, and he is like so proud to be an introvert now that he has reviewed a book in CBL just on introverts, right? And I totally agree with you that introverts basically need a lot of time to trust others. That's what we keep telling in the corporates when we work, to the working professionals as well, who all consider that extroversion is such a wonderful thing.
I think more than trust, it is just the desirability, that a lot of people think extroverts are desirable. That's all. Trustworthiness is not really, I don't know. I mean, you have people who just trust easily, and you have people who don't. They could belong to the introverted end of the spectrum, or the extroverted. I think the whole crux of it is that we need to really lose that stereotype around the two, in terms of their ability to do things, in terms of their own self. They don't need help. Introverts do not need help.
Great. Okay. Any other question, Preeti, about anything in our chat box? Nothing.
No,
Okay,
continue.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tanuji, next thing that I'm going to talk about is actually very close to my heart, is something that you also mentioned in your book, is empathy, which is the buzzword in the town these days. And wherever you see, it corporates, everybody's talking about empathy. We should develop empathy. We should be empathetic, especially for the leaders. This is the skill.
Ask them the definition of empathy first.
Yeah.
That's the interesting bit.
So I want to so I want to understand it in two parts. One, how easy, how we can cultivate empathy right from the childhood. Second, if not done at that point of time, because of ignorance or because of other factors, like we people, maybe it was not done at that point of time. So especially people above, 30s, if it is not there, so can they develop empathy, or then how? Yeah.
See,
so
any skill or any value system can be developed at any time. You just need the will for it and the awareness, right? Now, for example, when we were younger, we would very happily pirate music. Teenagers, we do it, right? Because there's no money. So people would get blank tapes, and we would make copies of those. That was piracy, nothing else, correct? As you grow older, you realize that what you're really doing, and you realize the implication of it, and you change. So change is good. Change can happen at any age. That is true for, at least in my belief, it is true for any characteristic. Now, coming to empathy, yes, it's the buzzword, but that's what it's been reduced to. The thing is that anything that the child learns, they learn by example first, right? If you're just, let's say, for example, if you're giving something to a person who works for you and feeling great about it, that's not empathy. That's just you feeling great about yourself. Child sees that, learns that. But on the other hand, they see you do small acts on a daily basis with no emotions attached to it. It is something like, oh, I get up, I brush my teeth, I help that person, I took a bath, and then I went and I saw that person and I help, and I understand what that person is going through. It's not just about help. It's also a bigger part of empathy is to actually understand what that person is going through. And what can you do about that situation without compromising on their self-respect? Right? Again, when you talk in terms of scientific definitions, a lot of it would crop up, but everybody derives at their own. And for me, empathy would be, I would be empathetic only if it becomes A, a way of life, and B, I do things not because I have the means and hence I will, but I understand what needs to be done, or at least I make that effort to understand what needs to be done. There, a lot of us will falter, will make our own sets of mistakes, learn from them, and then we will move on. As far as the cultivating empathy is concerned, I think it doesn't really require an effort if you yourself are an empathetic person. They will learn by watching you. And if you've learned, it's something that you've woken up to recently, then you wake up together. And you also point them out that the situations where you were not empathetic. Tell them where you may have made a mistake, that, this is something that I made a mistake and I shouldn't have done this. I could have handled the situation better. Yeah.
So I have a repeated question from a mother, Pooja Verma. So I'll ask her to ask the question directly. Pooja, can you unmute yourself? Verma.
Hi,
Yeah.
hi, Tanu. It has been wonderful listening to you, and thank you for all the pointers which you have been saying so far. My only question over here is that sometimes it is really difficult handling both of these guys, and at times I lose the communication part of it. I get tired, I get bugged off. I think it is not more of it's more about me as a parent rather than them, because they are being their usual self. They are being children's, the way they are supposed to act at 4.5 years old. But then I inadvertently I end up shouting, you know, and I feel very bad about it. At more, I mean, almost 100% of the time I go back and I say sorry. I usually explain it to them that I could have handled it better. I'm so sorry. But how can I not shout, and how can I remain calm at such point in time, and handle the thing better, because I don't want them to learn from me that shouting is the answer to any kind of uh, questions or any kind of thing which anybody is doing. I don't want to I don't want them to learn, because I know that we as parents lead by example.
Correct.
And they learn mostly from us. So I just want to
So thing is, as parents, don't you think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves? You're allowed to get exhausted. You're allowed to feel even inadequate at times. That maybe you're not, and question yourself. Am I doing the right thing? Am I a good parent? Am I a good parent? That is something that echoes. I mean, it's almost like a tape recorder inside which just goes in a loop. Now, the thing is that first of all, there are two parts to it. One is the immediate one, where you have to deal with the immediate situation where you see that, okay, the triggers are happening. See, we all come to know. We come to know when the anger starts to build up.
Right.
It doesn't just hit you and you've done it. It's not a reflex. Correct? You will have certain reactions. There'll be certain building up. It could start at a very chemical, physical level. For me, my face would just heat up. If it's, if I'm really angry, my face might go red. Or so simple things. And so there are some people who feel a little bit of tremor or heartbeat or pulse rate goes up. There are these physical symptoms which you will have to tune yourself to as a first step. The moment you see that coming, leave that situation. The first thing is to nip it right there, because what is happening here is you've put yourself in a cycle wherein you go ahead and you yell, then you feel bad, then you apologize. Over time, you end up justifying yourself that I have no other way. There is no other way. And then the whole loop just keeps following. So the first part is that. The second part would be, please take some time out for yourself. Do something which is just for you. Get your partner to help you. You need to do something which is just for you without the children. That doesn't make you a bad mom. You're the best bet they could have anyway. So, and that is something that we really miss along the way. And obviously the exhaustion will show sometimes. Simple, quick fixes. Let's say, there was a time when I would want to always read to my children at night, because bedtime reading is a good habit to have. Then there were days, they have an age gap of 2 years, and they excelled at pushing all the buttons all together. And by evening, I'd be so exhausted that I just did not have it in me to read. Podcast. There were story podcasts which helped me. It is okay to take help. I would not switch TV for them, but an audio story which is playing while they sleep, and they loved it because their grandmother had recorded it. So we used to use those. So make those shifts, in terms of organizing your day, optimizing, so to speak. And then in conflict situations, first remove yourself. Also, in the long run, what would be beneficial, I feel, especially when you have children who are close together in age, is to make sure that you give them individual time. So if child A's turn is there today and you're doing something special with them, it is okay to let child B do whatever. They don't have to do everything together. And they need to understand that they can have that one-to-one time with you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Tanu Shree. I would like to invite Gaurika now because she's got a very pertinent question on school and challenges which children face and parents face from the pressures of school. Gaurika?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Hi, Tanu. I just wanted to know, since there's so much pressures on the schools and everything, the kids, like, they have got to get 50%, more than 50%, and then do everything, excelling and everything. And at the same time, when you go to school and the teachers are there, some of the teachers, not all, but specifically some teachers, they just focus on the kids that are like too much, like scoring really high and stuff like that. So what is those who are not scoring much, they're obviously left behind. So does this create a long time, like a pressure on them, or does this make them lose their confidence and stuff like that?
Again, every child's journey is unique. You can't say that the same rules would apply for everyone. I pulled out my younger one from a mainstream school and put him in a place where he had more freedom, because I could see that the school was not serving his purpose. He is a daydreamer. He needs that kind of a space where he can create art. He is not the variety who would cram up things and just, he did it in his own time, but he was not enjoying it. It's as simple. Now the pressure of the PTAs, if there are any teachers out there, I apologize already. The PTA meetings, so I remember going initially and it was almost like that it's my report card which is being rolled out. So keep chanting on your way to the PTM that you are the best pet, you are the best mom, your child is good and best there is. So no one is going to tell you that Aadha number kam tha, hence your child is not good enough. Okay. I have had times when, see, for me, what had worked was that my priorities were very clear. How's the child behaving in the class? How is he feeling? Is he happy? Is he bothering anyone? Is anyone else bothering him? Is he disrupting the class? No. Is he helping others? Is he helping you? These are the kind of conversations we had, much to the bewilderment of the teachers, because I never went with a notebook saying A teda hai ya B missing hai, and marks were never discussed. Because I don't know, do you remember how much you scored in 7th grade English tests, finals? No. So it doesn't matter. How the child gains confidence is to see, it's again very personal journey. You might give the best environment, and yet there might be situations in life where the child might get beaten down. All right. As parents, we need to also realize that the world is not your cocoon. You can be their wall, the wall that they can fall on. And that's what you need to be, that I'm here, I'm standing. You go make your set of mistakes. Once you're done and you need help, you come back. We'll repeat this cycle as long as it takes to get you to understand how to do things. Obviously, we are not including criminal activities in that. So you can't go and break stuff and then come back that, you know, I sort of broke the law. So not that, but don't let the teachers and the system get you down. Stand up, fight them.
Great. Thank you so much. Eva, can I have one more question from the audience before I circle back to you?
Please, Preeti, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I would like to invite Kritika, who was asking a question about how do I have a coach conversation with my client. I can't see Kritika now. I think, yeah, she's there.
Coach conversation with the client. We are talking about parents, and I have nothing to do
with the child. Coach, how can I coach her to listen to me? That was, I think, the question she asked. Kritika, yes.
Yes. Hi, Tanu.
Hi.
So I really want to ask you that how do I coach my child? I keep policing her, basically. That's become my routine now.
See, you've given the answer yourself. You're using the wrong word. Policing and coaching are the two words that you need to write on a paper, bunch it up, and then throw it in the nearest dustbin.
Really? Yes. I'll do it right away.
Just keep reminding yourself. It is very difficult, I know, because at the end of the day, you feel responsible. Main nahi sikhaunga to kaun sikhayega. They are learning anyway. They are observing you. They are watching you. Lead by example. Learn. Let them learn without you. right? Think about yourself. How many of us would you, if I told you that, listen, I need to teach you something, I need to tell you something, this is what you're doing wrong. What would be your first reaction? It will be a knee-jerk reaction of, dude, I am perfect the way I am. What will you teach me? Are you telling me that I'm not good enough? Right? Those are the things that will rush through your head. And you will be shut to the idea of, oh, someone coaching me is not acceptable. But they see something work for you, they might want to try it. So again, conversations rather than coaching.
Wonderful, wonderful. Back to you, Eva.
Okay, so we talked about, relationships, we talked about emotions, everything. Let's talk a little about, careers again, because, every parent want to understand what is the career the child is going to pursue. And right from the age of 12 or 13, they wanted to have an answer. And I've seen two extremes in this. One is directly or indirectly parents communicating to the child that this is a good stream, there is a lot of scope in this, let's, follow this. And the other extreme is we have given, so I have seen so many parents giving extremely free hand to the kids in terms of deciding what they're interested in terms of deciding what they want to become. So these are like two extremes, and I want to understand from you. Obviously, I
would be interested in seeing where these extremes land up 10 years from now. So that would be an interesting thing to watch. Now, look, again, coming back, I today do not know what I will be 10 years from now. I might be something very different. And I think that is the kind of environment you want to give a child, where they have the freedom. Would you rather have a child who's been pushed and conditioned into taking up science because it is safe, and then come to a world where suddenly all these jobs are redundant and the child is left in a lurch that they have no idea what they can do and what they want to do with their lives? Situation one. Situation two, at 40-year-old, you're hit with that idea that this is not what I wanted to do. And you suddenly feel lost, that where am I? What am I doing with my life? So there you go. Midlife crisis has its root in the childhood also. So freedom to choose, make mistakes is inherent. No, what is the worst that could happen? I am mentally prepared that my son might actually say that I'm going to drop a year and then decide about college, something which most Indian parents would have a panic attack on. Ek saal waste kar diya. So there is no wasted year, there is no wasted time, there is no wasted skill. I was a science student first. I took biology with maths in 11th, dropped biology, switched to psychology. After studying psychology, went to NIFT, come back, do my postgrad, do my PhD, and now I'm teaching and I'm writing, and I might just retire to the mountains and do nothing. It's that simple. So we cannot chart their journeys.
Absolutely, Tanuji. Who better than me can relate with this, from a science student to the psychology or behavior? So it's absolutely again a 180 degrees fit. So obviously we have a lot to understand from you, and all the viewers who are listening to us. If you want to understand more, read this book. And now coming to the second book.
So bad internet connection there. I think I just lost the audio. Okay, yes, you're back. No, gone again.
Eva, are you there?
Eva?
Please, and here we start reading this. Am I audible?
I think the audio is...
I think, Eva, your connection lost. What Eva was trying to tell was, I think she was mentioning your second book, which is Darkless. And before she comes back and she joins in, why don't you tell us something about this lovely book, which is not meant for kids only, but for everyone who reads.
So first of all, I saw a few messages down there asking which book. So this is the first one, which is called Keep Calm and Mommy On. It is available on Cool School. The links have been sent to you. And the second one, which Eva was actually trying to show, but yeah, there she is. So that's Darkless.
Yeah. So
yes. Oh, we have Eva back.
Okay, yeah. So I was when I was reading through this picture book, and I was like, flooding with the emotions. So one thing that came to my mind is like Gagar Mein Sagar. So I would really want to understand from you that what inspired you to, come across with this kind of a concept, this kind of a book, this kind of emotion, and how it is significant, for the parents to, read through it and understand these kind of emotions what our, kids go through.
Yeah. So the bit about inspiration, again, this question I think is something that a lot of us, that's the inside secret that I'm giving you, that most of the authors just make up the question about inspiration, because a lot of times it just comes. It is, it's not something that, it might not be necessary that a person has had this life-changing experience and then it hits. It could be something which is, which happened maybe 5 years back, and also a total of a lot of experiences. Now, writing this was not tough. It was the editing which was really tough, because you have to stick to a certain format. And then there was a lot of doubt as we go along that, are we doing the right thing? But then there was a gut feeling. I've never believed that picture books are for a certain age group. I mean, Amit knows better. Whenever I go to his store, and if I don't have any money, I sincerely avoid talking to him, because I know that I would be going back with a stack of picture books. So I love them. And so that, once you have that in you, I don't think you can actually think of picture books as just a tool for kids who are, let's say, till 4 or 5. The response to this book has been overwhelming, because I've had grown-ups messaging, telling them that, this sort of brought catharsis to them and a sense of peace. Now, and then of course, a lot of people also felt that, is it too early to introduce children to emotions that are too dark? Now, the thing is, children do have the entire spectrum of emotions. The only difference is they are not able to label it. A lot of them are not able to label what they are feeling. So it becomes very important that we talk to them about all the emotions. Childhood is not all candy floss and bright, nice balloons and glitter. They have their own issues. They have their own anxieties. So the whole premise of the book is to accept the negative emotions or the fears that you're facing, accept them, make them a part of you, and also accept that certain things are not permanent, and you have to learn to live in the day. And as long as you are open to the idea of others helping you, lending a helping hand, as long as you're open to the idea of love, it can take many forms. Yeah.
True. And actually, I must tell this personal experience, Tanu, because I kept the book in my room when I was working in my study, and my son came, read it. He's 6.5. He had tears in his eyes. He said, "Mama, something is not right with this boy's mama. I don't want that to happen to you." And so he hugged me, and I said, "No, it's not going to happen. You don't have to worry." He says, "Let us open the curtains. I want bright lights." So we opened the curtains. He says, "I don't want darkness."
So see, now I think that's beautiful. That is really beautiful. As a parent, we don't have to be scared of the child being upset.
Yeah.
That my child would be too upset, or he'll cry, and how will I deal with it? For me, that clarity was there right from the beginning, because the boys have read some books which were way beyond their level. And I still remember him reading one book around zombies, and he held my hand while he was reading because he was too scared. And he had nightmares for quite a few days after that, but the boy would read, and I did not take it away from him. So it gives you platform to talk about tough emotions, which is good. Cry together if you have to. We have read books and cried together, buckets. Like, I would come to a page and I'd be crying, and the boys would come and grin, "Oh, you've reached that part." So I think it's perfectly fine if the child is upset. It gives a window in their world, no?
Yes, so true.
Yeah.
So true. So it had a lot of impact on us both.
So thank you, Tanuji, for, putting light on so many aspects, dealing with kids and teenagers, toddlers, everyone. So Mohit, handing over back to you. Thank you for having this conversation, Tanuji, once again.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for reading.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Eva and Preeti. I think this is fantastic. I was wondering while that talk was going on, while she was answering about beating, why is it so that my mom never heard it? I got a lot from her, for sure. Where were you those days?
I was probably sitting in my own corner
Yes, I
after a
know.
thorough thrashing.
And she was smashing with my school belt and every day when I used to come back from school. So thank you very much. No, love the book. I'll just take a minute to mention a common book that possibly I and Tanuji we both love.
Oh,
This
we
is
love this one. Yes.
yeah.
It's won an award. It's
And
won an international award.
yes, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lovely book. And to all the parents and to all the people who are here, city book leaders earlier was always perceived as a very business, suit boot. But believe me, we know that we all have Einsteins in us, and we would love to bring in more such interesting sessions. Tanuji and Amit, who's our dear friend here from the Cool School, has confirmed that he'll be here as a partner with us for as much as we can. And we would like to bring in more such sessions. This 28th of June, we want session by parents where they can come and narrate stories about environment so that they, as all of us as parents, can take back those stories. So please nominate yourself. We would love to have those micro small stories from all of you. We'd be happy to host that session for you. It would be a pleasure indeed now to request Amit to come and give a word of thanks. So we stick to our timeline. So Amit, here you are.
Thanks, Mohit. Thank you so much, everyone, for the parents who've attended this session. Eva, brilliantly hosted, Preeti. But I also want to mention a little bit about Tanu. So I first met her at the bookstore, and this was almost 9 years ago. Yeah. And I remember how she converted into a child, all these books, and we instantly connected, and we've had some tremendous conversations over books. And this book that she's written about parenting, you probably haven't seen her interacting with the kids, but I have been privy to a lot of conversations in the store. I've seen her kids growing from, you can't see the height here, but
we measured them in bookshelves.
Yes. The camaraderie that she shares, the relationship that she shares with her kids is testament, to her parenting skills and how we all can benefit from this book in these tough times. We are all spending a lot of time with each other, and things can get a little crazy. And this book truly helps. And I've read the book in bits and pieces, and there are so many things that, when I was reading through it, I felt that I'm doing this, but this is something that I can definitely try. So thank you, Tanu, for writing this book. And for Darkless, it is a special book. I think every person needs to read that book, needs to experience that book. I would have read over 1,000 picture books from across different parts of the world. And I remember when I first read that book, I felt so proud, that an Indian author had written it. It's beautifully illustrated it. It gave me goosebumps, and it still does every time I read it. It's a fantastic book, and it's criminal to give it an age. It is for everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure always. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Mohit, for bringing all of us together. You're doing a wonderful job.
We want to show, because Nidhi is also here with us. This is a lovely game that she had designed. She's based out of Gurgaon. This is a lovely game. Yesterday, my daughter and we played. This is Ramayana. These are cards. So we will send an email to every one of you. With this, we log off for today's session. We are 5:36. We started at 4:30. So you can see the time clock in our mind always works. But thank you, everyone, for investing here today for your wonderful 1 hour. Thank you, Tanuji. And we all should actually visit her Teethan library, which is actually stay based out of art. Yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It's truly a fantastic evening today. Thank you, everyone. Namaskar. Have a great day.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.